Welcome to another video on our channel. First off, thank you for joining. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like, subscribe, give us some love. It helps. Today we're doing another topic video talking about how to find community. We're going to be talking about how we have experienced community, how to build it, how to keep it, and yeah, so let's jump into it.
Alright, first point, what makes a good friend? So someone with obviously similar interests to you.
Yeah, someone who's fun to be around.
Someone who stands by you through the tough times.
And someone that you can talk about anything with.
Yeah, and obviously there can be more things to this list, but we're talking about the generic, broad things that make up the qualities and the character of someone who's a solid friend. Well, a biblical example of a really good friend that I love is the example of Jonathan in the Bible and how he is a friend to David. So that's in the book of 1 Samuel and 2 Samuel, and it's their lives, and it's really cool how they come together because David's kind of a nobody that God empowers to defeat the enemy Goliath. And
turns him into, later on, the king of the entire nation.
Right, but in response to that moment where David defeats Goliath because of his faith in the power of God to help him with any obstacle, Jonathan sees that. Jonathan is the son of the king, the rightful heir to the throne, but he recognizes in that moment that David is the one God has anointed to be the next king, and humbly removes his own armor, his own prince armor, and clothes David with it, and makes a covenant friendship with him that is bonding and very serious. Like that is when they do that in that time period, especially making a covenant of that type is they mean it. It's a huge deal, and especially being the prince of the kingdom and seeing this nobody who's just a shepherd and recognizing God has picked him to be the next king, not me. And I'm going to present my undying loyalty to him because I also just really love his character. And that was the cool thing about their friendship. Yeah. Jonathan just loved David as his friend because of the character that he saw in David and his heart for the Lord. So
the next question that leads into is, how do you get a friend like that? How do you get a friend like Jonathan?
Yeah, because I just want to quick. There was lots of times where David faced horrible obstacles, including the fact that Jonathan's own father was trying to kill David because he knew David was going to take the throne. Yeah. Like, understandably, he was the next in line, and God had made that clear, and Saul was a terrible king. And he's trying to kill David over again, and Jonathan's trying to protect David and heal that terrible relationship, and goes out of his way to do that and put his undying loyalty and friendship for David, and encourage David in the hard times, and not to give up, not to stop following the Lord. So again, how do you get a friend like that?
So we have 6, tips of how to get a friend like that. Number 1 is, honestly, it can be the hardest, but it's also kind of the easiest on the list, is just say hi. Yeah. You're never going to meet anyone if you don't speak.
Yeah, and I know that's really a lot scarier, and we have a hard time with this too. Yeah. Somebody will walk by or walk into where we're staying because it's a group guest house, and it's new and we want to meet them, and it's like, should I say hi? Yeah. And then you almost miss the opportunity, and then they walk away, but it's just open your mouth. I said this to Danny the other day. If you open your mouth, you're going to feel more uncomfortable standing there with your mouth awkwardly open than if you just said, hey, what's your name?
So start by opening your mouth.
Yeah, open your mouth and pray for God to give you boldness and courage, because he will. Number 2, put yourself in atmospheres where everyone is a stranger to everyone.
Ooh, yes. That is something that's really important, because we so often get in our heads about I'm the only one who feels this way. But in reality, 99% of everybody around you is feeling awkward and uncomfortable and not knowing how to say hi to you.
And wanting more friends. I mean, everybody is pretty much at a place where they want to meet people in one way or another. They just don't know how. So take a class. Yeah. Take a cooking class. Take a pottery class. Join a fitness group. Dance class. join a Facebook group. I just joined one here, and it's actually, I've got 2 friend dates where I'm going to meet some people on Monday. It's like a blind friend date.
Or go to a home group at a church. That's a fantastic way of meeting people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's just what it comes down to is that you got to just do the work. You're not going to meet anybody if you don't put in the labor and see what comes of it.
Number 3.
How do you get it, Jonathan?
Be the Jonathan. This one is really important. And so whenever Tara and I were in college, we actually had this experience where I was just like, man, I just really want solid friends that are dudes that will just push me and just be there when I need them. And she was like, well, are you acting like that towards your friends? Like, are you being the guy that's pushing them and being there for them and their needs? And I was like, oh, man. It kind of gets you. But it's so true. Like, if you make sure that you are the best friend that someone could have, then people will actually want to be your friend. And you're not doing it in a way to make friends. You're just doing it to be a good friend. And it works out in a way that you make more friends that way.
Yeah, and just it impacts people's lives deeply to have somebody care about them and cherish them, even if they don't know how to fully respond back, because that's going to happen. But
so
just be the Jonathan.
Be the Jonathan.
Okay, moving on.
Number 4.
Be open. So you're not going to have close relationships where you can feel like you can tell the person anything or they can tell you anything if you're not just going to decide to be open. And that takes being open from the beginning. So I'm not saying you have to spill out your entire life story in front of a stranger, but if they ask you how you're doing and you're having a
really bad
day, I mean, don't complain and just be the most negative person on earth, but just talk about how you're struggling and it's been a hard day and this is why, you know?
Yeah.
So being honest
being real.
And be open to receive accountability in the sense that when these friends rebuke you, you take it and you listen to it and say, maybe I am doing that and how can I fix that?
Yeah, be willing to change.
Yeah, so you're not going to have a good friendship if you're just stubborn and prideful, because they're just going to get sick of that.
You being you if you're not that great.
We're not trying to be mean, I promise.
Number 5.
Plan things. So even if this is not your strong suit, which I know a lot of people are not good at planning things, you gotta work at that. You know, develop that skill set that's not your strong suit. Put in the work, make the plan, even if they're not planning.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if they're not planning, also remember, like, okay, maybe they're not very good at planning, and that's not why. It's not because they don't want to hang out with me. So just be the one to take that step and make the plan. Say, hey, let's go grab coffee.
Yeah, reach out, and sometimes they'll be busy, or sometimes it's just they might not reciprocate. You can move on and plan something with somebody else. But yeah, a lot of times it's really easy to just sit back and be like, dang, nobody wants to be my friend. But then I'm not texting and putting out the effort myself because I'm wishing that people would do it for me. And it just ends up, you end up getting more and more hurt as time goes on because...
And I think something to note on that is they might be sitting there thinking like, man, I just met that person and I really was hoping they would message me. So it's not only beneficial to you, but they might need you to text them. They might need you to be the one to take the step. So just take the step.
Yeah.
Make the plan. Number 6. This is the most important point to take away. So please listen. The most important one, make people feel at home when they're around you.
I love this concept because it's so beautiful when you break it down. There's a verse in Romans chapter 12, verse 13, where the second half of the verse says, seek to show hospitality. And I think the first takeaway, the initial response to that is like, oh, if I have people in my house, I need to make them feel comfortable and at home in my home. But that's true, but that's not what it's saying. It's just in general, in your presence, people should feel at home and people should feel welcome. There's another verse that says, welcome one another as Christ has welcomed you. It's Romans 15, verse 7. And both of those verses are just epically beautiful because when people are around you, there's so many times where you can think like, why isn't anyone talking to me? Why aren't they asking me questions? Why aren't they getting to know me? Because I've been in situations, even recently, where I showed up and it's a group setting and I'm the newbie, but nobody's really going out of their way to talk to me.
Feels
Probably
awkward.
because they're super uncomfortable and awkward and don't know how to talk to the newbie. And I'm uncomfortable and awkward because I don't know how to talk to these group of strangers. And I just remember listening to this podcast recently where they just decided to make it about loving on the other people around them and asking them questions to make them feel cared about, make them feel comfortable. So how to do that? Ask questions about their life, make them feel cared about, find out what makes them tick, you know? And that makes somebody feel so at home. If you're just excited about what they're excited about, even if they're just absolutely obsessed with model trains and you know nothing about them, and maybe think like, oh, my grandpa did model trains.
Tell them that your grandpa played with model trains.
Talk about that and talk about ask them what got you into that. Why does it interest you so much? Do you make it all yourself, the little mountains and stuff like that? Ask these questions and make them feel so cared about. And, you know, they may never ask you a question back. Some people just don't do that. But I'm telling you, that's okay because you just made their entire day, if not week or month.
And I know whenever I go into a setting like that where it's like awkward at first, but then I choose, you know, I'm just going to try and get to know this person. I always leave having had a good time. Even if they learned nothing about me, I just got to know somebody really well, and I ended up having a really good time. So it's always beneficial to do that. Yeah, and you do. The more you do this kind of thing, the more you will meet people who want to be around you and hang out with you and click with you. So, like we said, you might not, with the person you have the really deep conversation with about model trains, you might not become friends because they don't reciprocate, because they don't know how or whatever it may be, but you might have the other person who's listening to the conversation really enjoy how you just treated somebody
and conversed, and they are going to want to be your friend, and you have a lot in common because you both like this surfing or whatever, and you know, you talk about that. So I just love those verses because it just encapsulates the way Jesus is as a friend. He just welcomes you. You know, he absolutely cares about the things you care about. So I used to tell a little girl I nannied, like, Jesus loves hanging out with you while you play Barbies. He loves it. So he loves hanging out with you while you do the thing that you love to do. So why not be that way with somebody else, even if it's not something that you would typically
just reciprocate what Jesus would be doing.
So moving on.
Okay, so now the topic is community, and you're like, wait, we've been talking about how to get friends. What about community, Fanny and Tara?
Group of friends.
So how do you turn these friends into community?
Yes, so this can be kind of hard, but we're going to give the tips we have. So I would say don't separate your friends. Rather, create opportunities for your friends to hang out as a group. So I've seen people in my life where they've actually made an effort to keep their friends separate because of fears they have that their friends will become better friends than they are with them, which I understand that fear, but you're keeping a wall between things and people that is not meant to be there, because God wants a unified group of people. And also, it's just, there's something so cool about bringing your friends together from different walks of life and making them know each other, and then seeing like, wow, these are my people, and my people are getting to know each other. And they might not all become friends, or they might really hit it off, but if you're a good friend to these individuals, they're not going to just be like, oh, bye, see ya.
And then another part with that is help. Like, when you bring your friends together, you have a group setting, like, be the one to help the conversations along. Be the one to get John to know Sally, you know, like, ask Sally questions that maybe help John to like, oh, that's interesting, Sally. I didn't know you liked cappuccinos.
Okay. In other words, pose group questions.
Yeah.
What's your favorite vacation you guys ever went on? What kind of food do you guys like? Or what hobbies do everybody share their hobbies, that kind of thing. And then help the person in the room who's the most uncomfortable into the conversation.
Which this can be really hard if you're the person that feels the most uncomfortable. But I think making community and building friends, it just takes a little bit of boldness. And that's why a lot of people don't have this, because it's scary. But if you just decide, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be bold.
Well, and no, not just decide, but pray and ask for the boldness. It's not something you just have out of nowhere and click on a light switch,
Yeah, God gives it
Ask
to us.
God to give you the boldness, because He will. He really will. So even if you're the most introverted introvert on the entire planet, He can help you to do this.
Yeah.
And it could be in a very small scale. You could be bringing 2 friends together, and it's just you 3 hanging out. But He can help you to have that courage in order to do that, because a community doesn't have to be 20 people. It can be 3.
Absolutely.
So.
And then another option, if you had a harder time building these friends and bringing them together, you're not the networker, then maybe go to a place and find a community that has already been built. Say, go to a church and go to what they call community groups, where they built a community.
Home group or Bible study, they have a few names for them. But community groups are a fantastic way to meet people, because this is a group of people from different walks of life, different ages, different hobbies, different jobs, who come together to just hang out and walk with you in your faith through the ups and downs of life, and pray with you and just love on you. Even if you don't have faith in Jesus, they want to just know you,
Yeah. Okay, so those are our tips of building friends and building community. Now we have some tips on things that might be hindering you from doing those things. So the don'ts.
The don'ts. So don't nitpick. You likely won't find the perfect friend who checks off all the boxes, that's just like you. And it's bad to limit yourself to just having one best friend who does everything and anything with you. Obviously, it's great to have a best friend like that, but you should broaden your horizons and hang out with other people who may just not check off all the boxes.
Yeah.
So don't nitpick. Hang out with a variety of people.
Yeah.
Number two,
don't replace friendships with your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend. That's something that's really important, and that, it can be really hard, especially once you get married. It's like, oh, I've got my best friend. Like, I'm good. I got my community right here. But we miss out on having bro time and girl time of just hanging out with other people that we can impact, but also can impact us and help us change and be better people. So
it robs you of the quality time and growth you can have from someone you're not trying to romance.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. Okay, next one, don't write people off too soon. This one can be really easy to do, because as humans, we tend to make opinions of people very quickly, and those opinions are most often wrong.
Yeah. So some of my best friends that I've been friends with for years, at first we did not get along.
Yeah.
Or some didn't even like me at first, and then they told me later. I was like, well, I'm glad we've worked it out, So don't write people off too soon, because you might be surprised how things go.
Next, don't get too down when friendships don't work out.
Yeah. My one friend shared with me, this was in reference to social media and how not everybody's going to like our account. And that's okay, because just like not everybody likes peaches, that's okay. There's people in this world that aren't going to like you, and there's people in this world that you don't really like on the reverse side. And I'm obviously saying, like, we shouldn't hate anybody. That's biblical.
Right. We should try,
but there's people we just don't
connect with.
And that's okay. Totally okay.
Yeah, if someone doesn't reciprocate that friendship, those questions, trying to get to know you, it's okay. Just move past it. It's like the saying, there are lots of fish in the sea. So
there's
it's true in
friends out
friendship.
there for you. Just
keep looking.
Keep looking. It's hard sometimes, but keep looking.
Yeah. In conclusion, this is a big topic for us, because especially in our first 2 years of marriage, we had a really hard time making friends. A lot of that was because we let the fear and the awkwardness of just making that first hello hinder us from saying hi and reaching out to people, and we didn't try as hard as we should have.
Yeah, or the thought of, oh, why aren't they texting me, kept us from making plans. And this longing to have friendship and community is 100% God-given, and it's totally good. And He wants to give us this community. It just takes more effort on our part to reach out for it, to go to the home groups, and to be there more than one time, and the willingness to let go of unrealistic expectations, to have these Jonathans all throughout your life that are pouring into you, encouraging you when you're not doing the same. Ultimately, friends come and go in our lives. Only until we're in heaven are we going to not have to say goodbye again, which is going to be awesome. Until then, we can learn to create meaningful relationships that have long-lasting impact on those around us and to us.
And in order to do that, we need to focus on being the good friend, being the Jonathan, or even better, being like Jesus is as a friend to us. So that is all for this topic of building community, making friends. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this.
We hope it helped.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed it, please share it with a friend. Also, we would love it so much if you joined us, subscribe, like, all that good stuff.
Check out our Instagram.
Yes, check out the Instagram. And comment down below what other topics you might want to hear.
Yeah.
Bye.